In 1842, a freed slave stepped off a boat in Lagos, carrying nothing but a Bible and a death sentence. Within 180 years, Nigeria would become home to the largest Christian population in Africa, over 95 million believers. But here is what they don't tell you in history class. Christianity didn't arrive peacefully. It came with chains, rebellion, supernatural encounters that defy explanation, and a power struggle so intense it would reshape an entire continent. This isn't the sanitized Sunday school version. This is the real story, complete with voodoo priests who converted after witnessing miracles, missionaries who died mysterious deaths, and Nigerian warriors who fought both colonizers and their own gods. Stay until the end because the twist in 1975 will completely change how you see Christianity in Africa today. Let's go back to where it really started. (1842) Lagos Harbour. Samuel Ajayi Crowther stands on Nigerian soil for the first time in 25 years. Here's the twist. He is not supposed to be alive. At age 13, he was kidnapped from his village by slave raiders, torn from his mother's arms. He would never see her again, and chained in the hull of a Portuguese slave ship bound for Brazil. But something happened that changed everything. A British naval ship, part of the anti-slavery squadron, intercepted the vessel. Samuel was freed. But here is what most people don't know. He wasn't freed in Nigeria. He was taken to Sierra Leone, converted to Christianity by missionaries, and became so brilliant he was sent to England, where he met the Queen. Now, 25 years later, he is back, not as a slave, as Nigeria's first indigenous missionary. And the people he's coming to convert, they include the same ethnic groups that sold him into slavery. Think about that level of forgiveness. That's our starting point. But Samuel Ajayi Crowther wasn't the first Christian to touch Nigerian soil. That honor goes to someone you have definitely never heard of, and his story is even more insane. 1472. Exactly 370 years before Samuel arrived, Portuguese explorers landed on the Nigerian coast and immediately started building churches. Wait, 1472? That means Christianity was in Nigeria before the transatlantic slave trade even began. Exactly. Here is the part that will make you uncomfortable. Those same Portuguese Catholics who brought Bibles also brought chains. By the 1500s, Nigeria's coastal kingdoms, especially Benin and Lagos, were deeply involved in the slave trade, often partnering with these Christian Europeans. So when missionaries arrived in the 1800s, preaching love and salvation, many Nigerians had a simple question: why should we trust the religion of people who enslaved us? Fair question, right? This is where the story gets supernatural, because what happened next can't be explained by logic alone. Between 1840 and 1890, West Africa earned a nickname among European missionaries: the white man's grave. And they weren't exaggerating. Malaria, yellow fever, dysentery. Missionaries were dropping like flies. The average survival rate, less than 2 years. One missionary society sent 89 people to Nigeria between 1804 and 1825. 60 of them died within 12 months. So why did they keep coming? Because something was happening in the villages that kept getting reported back to Europe. Something the history books downplay. Miracles. Not the metaphorical kind, the "I was blind and now I can see" kind. The witch doctor's curse was broken kind. And it wasn't just the white missionaries saying this. It was Nigerian converts like Samuel Ajayi Crowther who witnessed these things firsthand and couldn't deny them. Remember this detail because it becomes crucial in 1930 when Nigerian Christianity completely explodes. But we are not there yet. Okay, here's where it gets complicated. When missionaries arrived, Nigeria wasn't a blank spiritual slate. There were already three massive religious systems in place. The traditional African religion, with gods like Shango, the god of thunder, and Ogun, the god of iron. These weren't myths to the people, they were real. Daily life revolved around them. Islam, which had been in northern Nigeria since the 1400s, brought by traders and scholars. And now, Christianity, brought by former slaves and white missionaries. These three worldviews were about to collide, and the battlefield, the souls of Nigerians. Let me show you what that looked like on the ground. Imagine this. You are a young Nigerian man in 1860. Your father is the village chief. Your family has worshipped Shango for 400 years. Then one day, a missionary comes to your village and something he says strikes you. You convert, and now you have to go home and tell your father, the man everyone respects, that you are abandoning the gods of your ancestors. What happens next? In many cases, disownment, exile, sometimes violence. One documented case from 1888, a young convert named Mojola Agbebi was nearly killed by his own uncle for refusing to participate in a traditional ceremony. But here is the shocking part. Mojola didn't back down. He challenged the priest to a spiritual duel. If your gods are real, he said, let them strike me dead right now. Nothing happened. The priest was humiliated. 12 people in that village converted that day. Stories like this spread like wildfire, and they tapped into something deep. Nigerians weren't rejecting their spirituality. They were searching for power, real power, and Christianity seemed to have it. But Islam had power too, and in northern Nigeria, that power was about to manifest in a way that would split the country. 1804, northern Nigeria, a Fulani scholar named Usman Danfodio launched a jihad, a holy war that created the Sokoto Caliphate, one of the largest Islamic empires in Africa. By 1810, Islam controlled most of northern Nigeria. Meanwhile, in the south, Christianity was growing, but it wasn't growing because of white missionaries. It was growing because of Nigerians like Samuel Ajayi Crowther, who understood the culture, spoke the languages, and could answer the spiritual questions that white people couldn't. By 1900, Nigeria had become spiritually divided. The north was majority Muslim. In the south, the Christian population was growing, and the middle belt was a spiritual war zone. This division still exists today, but here's what most people miss. Christianity didn't conquer Nigeria by force. It conquered Nigeria by education. Let me explain what I mean. Missionaries had a strategy that was borderline genius. They didn't just preach, they built schools. By 1900, over 90% of schools in southern Nigeria were run by Christian missions. Think about the implications. If you wanted your child to learn English, mathematics, or trade skills that could get them a job in the colonial economy, you sent them to a mission school. Was this manipulation? Absolutely. Was it effective? Devastatingly so. Nigerian parents faced an impossible choice: preserve tradition or give their children a future. Most chose the future. By 1914, when Nigeria officially became a British colony, Christianity had embedded itself so deeply into southern Nigerian society that it became inseparable from Nigerian identity. But the story doesn't end with colonization. In fact, the most explosive growth of Christianity in Nigeria happened after independence, and it happened because of one man who had a vision in 1975 that changed everything. 1960. Nigeria gains independence. You would think Christianity would decline, right? After all, it was associated with colonizers. The opposite happened. Between 1960 and 2000, Nigeria's Christian population grew from 21 million to 76 million. What caused this explosion? Three words: Pentecostal mega churches. Ever heard of Pastor Enoch Adeboye of the Redeemed Christian Church of God? Pastor David Oyedepo of Living Faith Church, Winners Chapel? Pastor Chris Oyakilome of Christ Embassy? These men turned Christianity into a movement that felt authentically Nigerian, not European. They preached in local languages. They incorporated African music. They emphasized prosperity, healing, and deliverance, things that resonated with African spirituality. Critics called it prosperity gospel. Supporters called it liberation. But here's what's undeniable: it worked. Let me show you how. 1975, a young Nigerian mathematics lecturer named Enoch Adeboye had a vision. He is not a pastor. He is not even particularly religious, but he attends a small Pentecostal church called the Redeemed Christian Church of God, founded in 1952 by a Nigerian prophet named Josiah Akindayomi. In 1981, Adeboye becomes the general overseer. At that time, the church had 40 parishes. Today, over 5 million members, more than 14,000 parishes in Nigeria alone, branches in 198 countries. The Redeemed Camp, the church's headquarters, is so massive it has its own zip code. How did this happen? Adeboye did three things differently. He made salvation accessible. No complex theology, simple message. Jesus saves right now. He emphasized miracles, healing services, deliverance from demons, financial breakthroughs. These weren't side events, they were the main events. He empowered Nigerians. Unlike colonial missionaries, he trained Nigerians to plant churches. Every member became a potential pastor. By the 1990s, you couldn't walk through Lagos without seeing a Redeemed Church poster. And he wasn't alone. While Adeboye was building a grassroots movement, another pastor had a different vision. David Oyedepo believed God wanted his people wealthy. In 1981, he founded Living Faith Church, Winners Chapel. His message: poverty is a curse. God wants you rich. Controversial? Absolutely. Effective? Check the numbers. Today, Winners Chapel has over 7 million members, the largest church auditorium in the world, 6,000 branches globally, and Oyedepo is worth an estimated $150 million.
Ibi tẹ́ ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ẹ ṣé níbi tẹ́ bá dé àdúpẹ́ o Jésù ibi tẹ́.
You can criticize the theology, but here's what you can't deny. For millions of Nigerians living in poverty, this message gave them hope. It gave them a reason to believe tomorrow could be better. And that hope, it's reshaping Nigerian society in ways no one predicted. 2026. Nigeria is now the largest Christian nation in Africa. home to some of the largest, biggest churches in the world, a major exporter of Pentecostal Christianity back to Europe and America. Let that sink in. The descendants of people who were evangelized by Europeans are now evangelizing Europeans. Nigerian pastors are planting churches in London, Houston, and Sydney. The story has come full cycle. But it's not all positive. Nigeria is also facing religious tension between Christians and Muslims, criticism of prosperity gospel theology, questions about the role of megachurches in a country with widespread poverty. Christianity in Nigeria is messy, complex, and contradictory, just like Christianity everywhere, but it's also undeniably powerful. And it all started with a freed slave who came home with a Bible. So, what's the real story of how Christianity started in Nigeria? It's not a simple story of colonizers imposing religion. It's a story of Nigerians like Samuel Ajayi Crowther choosing to embrace a faith that gave them identity, education, and power in a world that tried to strip all three away. It's a story of resilience, adaptation, and transformation. Remember that death sentence I mentioned at the beginning? Samuel Ajayi Crowther didn't just survive, he became the first African Anglican bishop. He translated the Bible into Yoruba, he built schools that educated thousands, and when he died in 1981, he was buried with honors, not as a slave, but as a pioneer. Christianity didn't conquer Nigeria. Nigerians conquered Christianity and made it their own. If this story challenged what you thought you knew about African Christianity, hit that subscribe button. We are diving into Untold Nigerian history every week, and trust me, this is just the beginning. Drop a comment. What surprised you most about this story? This is Nigerian History Uncovered. Thanks for watching, and remember, history is never as simple as they taught you in school.